Hi everybody, it's Patty here, and I'm just going to close the door. I'm standing here in our spare bedroom on a Saturday, and I just felt compelled to want to share a little bit of myself with you. You know, we hear a lot about that the more you share and let people know who you are, the more real you are, the more authentic you are to them, and you don't come across as someone that's just out for their own. I'm having a kind of a very introspective day. I wanted to come up here because this is a place where I wanted to share, and I've got one of my artworks on the wall here. My deepest passion is to be an artist and to be able to express my spiritual side through art, and that's really what I want it to be. I don't want it to be about really so much, not that I'm taking away from anyone else. This is me I'm talking about. I want it to be more than painting beautiful landscapes, which of course, you know, there are so many. But I want to be able to paint the things that are unseen to the physical eye, or what I can imagine that these things look like on a spiritual or on an energetic realm. And I'm not really sure why I want to do that. It's just I'm compelled. And a couple of years ago, we were asked to do an exhibition in this gallery at this town, and I was part of one of the founders for a group, a studio group. We call ourselves the Scrum Sisters Studio, and it's a group of artists who, on our own, we've been artists for many years, but you know, and alone we, you know, we're accomplished and somewhat confident, but together as a group you're so much stronger. There seems to be a little bit more collateral, a little bit more yeah, I'm not really sure the word I'm looking for right now, but a little bit more authority, I guess, when you come together as a studio group, and people tend to look at that as something more professional or stronger, whatever. But since we've come together in 2009, we've done quite a few shows together, and we've come closer as friends. But we also meet, and maybe just there's an energy that we share. We're not there to critique each other's work. We come from various backgrounds of media. I myself find myself as a mixed media artist. That's my kitty cat. And because I used to just do watercolors for many years as a watercolor artist, I put myself in a box. But I don't really want to go into a whole lot of detail about that because it's really not, it's inconsequential. I now, what suits my personality is mixed media, because I love textiles, I love paints, and I love to paint with textiles and paint. Of course, I was a traditional felting artist. I used to do wet felting, you know, projects and things like that. So back to the story. A couple of years ago, we were commissioned or asked to do an exhibition at this gallery, and the theme around it was about love, and each one of us had to produce works centered on the theme of love, whatever that looked like to us. And so it was very interesting to see how each one of us viewed different aspects of love. And for me, I wanted to take it more on a spiritual level as opposed to, you know, relationships and things like that. But it is, I believe it to be still about relationships, but it's the relationship we have with in our spiritual self, with our Creator. And whoever God is to you and to me is a personal thing. So this picture behind me, this was my largest piece, and it took me about 3 months to do it, and I'll do a close-up here in a minute, but it was all done with wool felt. It's like roving, or roving is actually the long skinny that you spin, but these were the, there's another name for it, it's leaving me right now, but I get brain farts every now and again, but it's not really inconsequential. But I took the unwove, the raw wool, and I used that and needle felted it into a canvas, which of course it's a heavy cloth, and went through a lot of needles, but I had a vision that I wanted to capture life and the moment that it begins, the moment and what that would look like. When you ever see life as it begins under a microscope, you see this. There's quite a trek. Actually, there's a beautiful video out on YouTube. I might even give the link to with this, and I highly recommend that you watch it. But the moment of conception, when the sperm enters, and it goes into the inner realms of this egg, and then magic happens, and then that cell breaks into two. But before it breaks into two, it's overlapping, and that actually is a sacred geometry symbol of the Vesicus Pisces. Many people have different pronunciations of it. If I'm saying it wrong, well, c'est la vie. But the Vesicus Pisces, and then from that moment, then it splits again into 4, then into 16, and then things really start to take off, and the human form comes into play. And that is magic to me. That is the beauty of creation, and the things that we don't stop and think about how that beautiful creation comes about. So I wanted to capture a moment, and that moment when our Creator brings life into His creation. So basically that's what this one is called. In the beginning there was only love. So I want to actually it's in the spare room here up on the wall, because I don't really have any other place to put it. But I wanted to just show you, this is the canvas here, and I stained it to represent the color purple, which is an ascension, which is the color of royalty, and the Christ was often referred to as that. But all of this is wool roving that I mixed together, and then I needle felted it into the canvas back. But as you can see, I've used some symbology, so you can see where the two cells have overlapped here and come together. And then what I did is the very center, I used just 2 points of black with the sacred geometry. This one here, of course, is the flower of life, and we see that throughout the ages in very ancient writings and scripts. And also this one too, which shows also the chakra points in our body, the energy points that we have. But this is also the tree of life, this symbology. And I wanted to try, I like to use symbology in my work because it portrays a lot of other meanings that otherwise might get lost. But this mix of color and of beauty and of swirling is to represent energy and life, and how that would look like at the moment that life begins. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you, and this is me. This is who I am, and this is what I want to create, and this is the type of artist I want to be. And it's a very personal experience for me. Excuse me as I step down. And I just really wanted to share that with you. It goes a long way back. And I've always been spiritual, even as a little girl, before we were even introduced to any formal religion or denominational otherwise. I always knew that there was a God, and I remember as a very little girl looking out through our little mailbox. We had a door with a mailbox that was in it, and we were in town for a very short time before we moved back out to the country, and we lived at that time in a townhome, and it had this little mailbox in it. And I was very little, but I could lift up the mailbox and look outside and breathe in the fresh air. And I remember a big storm coming through at one time, and we were often very afraid of storms, but I was always fascinated by them. And I can remember looking through the mailbox and watching this storm blow through, and then all of a sudden a break came in this storm cloud, and it opened up in this beautiful ray. You know, when the ray of sunshine comes through, I remember as though it was yesterday, and this beautiful ray came through, and I remember, it was making me very emotional, but I remember as a little girl, God is looking for me. So anyway, I'm feeling very introspective today, but I wanted to share that with you, and I hope you all have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you and share some more down the road. Thank you, and have a great day, and make it count.